Rocky Mountain region, just like the rest of our agency, has really tried to embrace and move out on collaboration to help us understand how to navigate issues, maybe understand what our options are. And what we find by bringing others in, we oftentimes come up with better solutions. But in addition to that, we often find ourselves in a position to leverage resources that we don't have.
Stewarding the whole is the Forest Service being outward looking. Through our state and private forestry programs and the many, many partners we have to manage across the landscape. If we don't manage across the landscape, the work we do on National Forest System land isn't going to amount to much.
To me, resilient is when forests have those disturbances that are natural, that forest survives. Not all the trees survive, but the forest survives. Shared stewardship is not a new concept, but it's working together. It's us sitting down with our federal partners and trying to figure out what are the most important parts of the state. What parts of the state do we need to work on that's going to have the biggest impact?
Management is not just about managing on Forest Service property. It's about managing smart across the landscape.
When I think of resilience, definition of resilience is the ability to recover from harm, or more specifically, in our environment, change. And a resilient landscape does change. Fire is the catalyst for change and has been for thousands of years. Fire exclusion has created a lot of these problems.
We're really moving forest conditions in a direction that makes them more resistant to wildfires and more resilient in the case of a wildfire, so that when a wildfire moves through, it doesn't kill all the trees.
The goal here is to have a forest that is healthy and insect and disease free, and the way to do that is to manage the vegetation.
This is the site of a Good Neighbor project. Wyoming State Forestry Division is tasked with managing state forest land across the state of Wyoming. We're in a little bit different role because we don't have large tracts of contiguous forest. We have checkerboard of sections across the state, and so we work with our federal partners to do more across the landscape to have a more profound treatment.
We've really been fortunate, like many other regions in the agency, with some of the new tools we have. Good Neighbor Authority gives us the ability to leverage other resources, bring others to the table, actually allow some of the people to take leads like the state foresters.
Good Neighbor Authority provides both a mechanism for sharing resources to do cross-boundary work. I think it also is an important enabler of the conversation about what work needs to be done and where the highest priorities are regardless of the land ownership.
We are probably one of the major water producers in western Colorado. We produce well over 3 million acre-feet of water. And having healthy watersheds in terms of the vegetation in the watershed, healthy streams, healthy riparian areas, is important to maintain that resiliency.
The city of Denver gets the majority of its water from National Forest System lands, so what we do on those lands impacts the quality and quantity of their water. Water is a scarce resource, and by us thinning out these forests, it's really providing for the long-term future.
Why we want to maintain healthy forests in a watershed is because the water that drains through the forest, through the land, ends up in our rivers, streams, and in our reservoirs, which supplies the water for our customers.
This is where our actual national forest comes down to an open canal that feeds into that piping system that gets water over to the east side into the Front Range of Colorado and the Denver Metro. Coming out here to manage these trees is one of those important pieces, because if all of that was burned away, it's going to come crashing down into this canal and rush into your water supply.
As a whole, in the Hermosa Creek and East Fork Hermosa Creek watershed, we're working towards 23 miles in total of native trout habitat.
The project is a collaboration between the Forest Service and Parks and Wildlife because we really need one another to implement this project. It also involves partners like Trout Unlimited that provide that really critical public support and enthusiasm.
This is a very viable operation. We meet all of our requirements. We look out here, we look at the reclamation, which is excellent out here. I mean, it's something to be proud of.
It's not about who can do the management, it's why we do the management. And the most important thing is that we're managing it for the public and being the good stewards that we can be.
Forest health is important whether you're on the national forest or you're on adjacent private lands or state lands. Looking at things from a landscape scale level and looking at it from an all lands approach and bringing in all those critical players, it's just truly important.
A resilient grassland or a resilient forest, and one that recovers and you're allowed to use it and manage it through history. It's not just today, it's tomorrow, it's for future generations. And if done right, it's a renewable resource that will never die.